This is Steve Martin lesson 19 notes from his masterclass, masterclass.com. The subject of this is editing. Editing is, I always see editing as at least my second, sometimes my third draft. And that's how he sees it too, which is cool because it is a powerful tool. You write something or you think of something in your head, you shoot it or you write it or whatever, then when it comes down to like video, for instance, on YouTube, I know that I can shoot this much and then whittle it down to a more usable amount, which is nice. I do that a lot. I'll shoot, if I make a 4-minute video, sometimes I'll shoot 30 minutes of video just to get it down there. And I mean, it's, my first draft is like, okay, this is what I want. My second draft is the edit, typically. And a lot of times I do this, especially when I'm shooting video, I'll just speed through whatever I need. Like for instance, when I do these, I have my notes and I know what I want to say generally, and I go through my points, and if I need to flesh out anything more, I come back. So the first draft isn't always going to be, let's not say isn't always. The first draft is almost never good. Very, very, very rarely is your first draft good. And that's perfectly fine. What your first draft is just getting the idea out on paper, on your memory card, wherever, whatever medium you want to use. Your first draft usually, just be honest, your first draft usually sucks. And that's fine, because you need to have that information. You just need to have that outline in order to say, well, these are my important points and these are not my important points. Let me get rid of those. A big thing with writing, especially, I haven't written anything since college, really, so a lot of times what my edits are, I'm watching them and I'm seeing what I said, like for instance this, and I'll say, well, nah, I don't need that, nah, I don't need that. Reading aloud when I was in college, that was something I'd try to do if I had time, write something. And this goes into another point, sitting on it. If you have the luxury of time, write something on a Monday and don't go to it till at least Friday. If not, wait till the next Monday to look at it and say, where was my headspace then, and why did I say it this way when I could have done it another way, and so on and so forth. Writing is a slightly different thing than video, because video I can shoot a lot and then I can edit around where I wanted to, and I'm hearing myself speak aloud. So I can edit myself on the fly, at least when I'm doing these, or if I'm making like a fishing video, a guitar video, or something like that. I can always just modify what I'm doing on the fly. And in writing, sometimes you can do that, but a lot of times just get everything out in a big chunk and then just carve into it and take out the pieces that you need, which is, I mean, that's usually the best way to get content, is to just have a lot and then distill it down to its essence, which is what you want, so it'll be compelling, so it'll be interesting. Ditch fancy words. That was one of his points. I'm not guilty of using fancy words, so I know that sometimes I'll think of something and it's just like, that's when I could just use something smaller. I'm not guilty of using fancy words, believe me, so that's something I'm not guilty of, but I understand that when you're writing or when you're working on something, you want it to make it sound eloquent. Sometimes it works, but a lot of times it just sounds like you spent the extra $10 for the word and it doesn't really mean anything. Go back to that. You find out what's relevant when you sit on it. If the longer you can make something, put it on ice, and forget about it, if you can afford to do that, if you have time to do that, that for me, I usually don't have that luxury because I'm just making a video every day here, so I don't have the time to do that typically, but sometimes I do, and it's really nice to be able to make a video, make the edit, and then put it away. Come back to it a few days later and say, oh, this should be here and that should be there and that needs to cut down in time. If you have that luxury of time, absolutely use it, because your headspace is different. You have a little bit of, you have life to kind of wash away the importance of what you're doing, and you can look at what it is, you want it to be, and sometimes it may not even be good enough to use, and you can just throw it away. It happens sometimes, and sometimes you're missing a key component, and when you can walk away and see that you are missing this point, then you can go in and add it or take it away if you don't need it. Spare the audience. I tried to. Sometimes these are too long, I feel. But sparing the audience of all of the nonsense, because in your head, again, it goes back to time. In your head, you think, I need to tell them these 24 points, when in fact you needed to tell them 4. It happens, and experience is part of this too, and just if you have the time, if you really want to make it something nice, make sure you give yourself enough time. And I think that's basically what he was talking about too. If you have the time to really sit on it, chew on it basically, and work it until what you think it should be, and then put it away. Come back and look at it again and think, like he says, oh, what was I thinking? I know I've done that. So time is you always try to give yourself as much time as possible. I try to do that when I can. He talks about something, I've heard this in many different ways, but he talks about Mel Brooks saying it's a fridge laugh. And I know I've had that happen to me with different things. Somebody will hit you with something, and you'll just think, okay. 12 hours later, he gives the example of walking up to the fridge and grabbing the handle and going, oh, and then laugh at whatever it was. I know that happens to me a lot. I've heard it described as like a grenade laugh or something like that. You pull the pin, you throw it, count to 4, and then it goes off. That's something I'm not funny, so I try to be, but it doesn't work. But I know that having a laugh like that is fun, because you just plant the seed, and you don't get to see the results 99% of the time, but it's fun to say, I put this idea out here, and hopefully the people will laugh at it. Always work to be done. I know at this point, I've made 449 videos over the past year and change. I've made a video almost every day. There's a small period I skipped just because I was on vacation, but every day I've made a video, and I can go back to one of these videos and think, whoa, I could have done this, I should have did that, this edit is better, this angle would have been better, oh, I color correct, I should have said this, I should have shot that, this is this order. There's always something to be done, there's always something to be said about what you're doing. If it's worth anything to you, because at the end of the day, that's what it ends up being. It's something that's worth to you. Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for somebody else? This is not for you guys, this is for me. And if you guys come along for the ride, awesome, thank you very much. But if you don't, you don't. This is for me, and I know that I may not be able to nail it every single video, but the collective brings me to something better, I hope. I hope if you go back and you watch my first month of videos, my first 30, let's say 50, let's go 50. If I go to my first 50 videos, are they great? Probably not. If you go to my last 50 videos, hopefully they're better. I don't know. I would hope they're better. I think they're a little bit better. I'm chiseling away at this thing, trying to figure out what I am and what my style is. But there's always work to be done. Boy, there's always something. So that's incredibly relevant to everything. This is Steve Martin, lesson 19 of masterclass.com. I've been working my way through the class. It's been very enjoyable, and I know that there are only 5 more to go, and it's been a lot of fun to really, because it's one thing to sit there and watch him speak, which is fun. But it's another thing to take notes and really think about what you're listening to and try to make it relevant to what you are, which is that's the point of learning anything, is trying to take something from it and make it and you better. So thanks for watching.